Hello everyone. Today we will navigate on some tips, questions to ask, and important information when choosing a skilled nursing facility. Welcome to our pilot episode of Senior Matters. We are joined today by an expert in healthcare industry. Her name is Carol Phillips. She is a registered nurse and she is also the Director of Business Development for Personal Healthcare. Welcome, Carol.
Hi.
The desire of an elderly person to stay in their own home must be weighed against the type of care they require. A time may come when your parent or grandparent will have to be placed in a skilled nursing facility or even short-term rehabilitation, otherwise known as nursing homes and convalescent homes. These facilities are able to provide the extreme and extensive nursing care that your loved one may need. And also planning ahead is touring facility to choose a nursing home, and some agencies in the community is also helping some family members in choosing what nursing homes to choose and to select. Carol, most of the concern of the family members is cost when their loved ones will be admitted to either short-term or long-term care in a nursing home. Can you give us the explanation about the cost to be in a nursing home?
If your loved one have 3 overnights in a hospital, they normally would be covered through Medicare Part A. They have 100 days covered through Medicare for the first 20 days. After day 21, they will be covered at 80%. But there is private insurance that can cover the secondary copays, such as Medicaid, such as private insurance, or some families can pay privately for this service. Also, I think it's important for families to ask about what is covered. Would also the doctor's visits, the medications, etc.
Okay, that's good. What do you think are the additional services that a nursing home should offer to a patient?
Nursing homes should offer physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language, also activities. Going back to physical therapy and occupational therapy, I think it's important to know exactly how many hours, that patient would require. Depends on what happened to the patient.
Okay, I'm a physical therapist myself, so basically some patients from after hospitalization, they may need to regain their strength and they may need to find ways how to do things by themselves when they get home. And this process is called rehabilitations. And in my experience, average of 95% of the patient go home from a skilled nursing facility, and the average approximate days is 7 to 14 days in a nursing home, and that is basically based on what type of rehab they need in a nursing home. And the process here, as I think we agreed about this, is that after the patient hospitalization or hospital stays, and if they don't need anymore, then the care provided in the hospital, the doctors and the staff in the hospital will have to make a discharge plan for the patient.
That's correct.
Most often the patient wanted to go home and the family want them to go home. Unfortunately, the process of recovery is always slower when they go home straight from the hospital. And that's why most of these patients are transferred to a skilled nursing facility and to receive these therapy services, OT, PT, and speech, as well as skilled nursing as well. And when the patient arrives at a nursing home, the therapist will do their initial evaluation, make the individual plan of care, and do a process of discharge to go home safely. Also, a lot of concerns from our family members, Carol, is the staffing in the facility. So, and how often the patient should receive doctor's visit, and what is the accepted staff to ratio in a nursing home?
Every facility is different. Some physicians tend to round once a month, but they can visit more frequent if needed. The nursing staff is in touch with the physician almost daily for any changes or any changes in the patient plan of care. Um, Depends on a unit. It can be 3 nurses, 4 aides. Depends on how much residents there is on the floor at any given time.
Okay, and every day we saw a lot of family members enter a nursing home to visit. What does a normal day look like at a care or a nursing home facility?
Looking at the activity calendar for each facility, there's put aside from the physical therapy, occupational therapy, and the regular care that goes on in any facility any day. There is also, walking groups, there's shopping, there's the residents can play Jeopardy, they can play, different card games over the course of the day. And it's always, you can look at, there's a calendar that you can follow, and every floor has, there's their own calendar and how their activities is laid out.
And in your own opinion, how important is activities in a nursing home?
Oh, it's very important. Patients, you don't only want a patient to have physical therapy and occupational therapy and be cleaned up. They need to be busy. These people had their whole careers prior to this, so you still want to treat them like they're someone and be able to have them pass time and do something constructive with their mind. Lots of these patients have memory issues. Some of the activities is good to help patients with memory issues, but it's very constructive also for them to help pass, quality time.
We saw a lot of news about being abused and neglect by aides in the nursing home, and this happened a lot of times in the news lately. So, what do you think should the quality of a nursing aide, a family should look when they tour the building?
I think when a family tours a facility, they should look at the way how the staff interact with each other. I also think that they should, listen to even the music that they're playing, if it's hip hop or hard rock. Clearly, that's not really for a patient. That that would definitely be something that the administrator would want to address.
Okay, and of course, I worked in nursing home for the longest time for my career, and everybody is aware that one of the biggest complaints is food. So what is your thought about this, as food as the biggest complaint by the family member?
Food is very hard for a patient to adapt to, especially with, the changes with their sensory, and just with patients getting older. Some patients have different diets that's going to require not having salt in their diet. Some patients might have issues with swallowing, so they would have to be placed on a puree diet. It's very important to pay attention to how much patients eat. That is the standard, for us. We monitor how much a patient is eating, and also if the family is bringing food, and if that patient is eating more when the family brings the food. That is also important for us to know, just because for whatever reason they might not like our food. That's something that can easily be adjusted if we know about it.
Yeah, a lot of concerns as well. Family are bringing foods to their family member or loved one in the facility, and the food isn't actually the required food for the patient. Mm-hmm. They would bring like regular food for persons in puree, right, versus mechanical soft. And those are the most common problems we had in a nursing home at this point in time. And we need to educate our family members that certain patients are in certain type of diet for safety issues. Yes. They don't want them to aspirate, and we don't want them to make some swallowing problems that were in puree or mechanical soft. But some family members still bring regular food like burgers, sandwiches, fries, and those are the things that we need to really look into as well and educate our family why the patient is in a special type of diet as well. And a lot of things that as well as the family are actually looking around when they make it to a nursing home is the noise in the patient, in the environment, basically in a nursing home. When you walk into the nursing home and you hear somebody yelling, somebody shouting, or patients are in sundowning and been yelling in the hallway. And so is this really a big factor to consider when choosing a nursing home?
Yes and no. When yelling is just some patients are, like you mentioned, sundowning and get confused, and they tend to yell out, a family member's name. They're confused about their location. But I think most important when you're choosing a home is not necessarily the fact that that patient is yelling, but the care. As long as the patient doesn't look like no one is caring for them, I think is most important is the staff interacting, how the staff is interacting with that patient. Because a patient might not necessarily be yelling, as long as staff is going to check to make sure that the patient is safe and everything like that is fine. The yelling is just, again, it's not as important as it's not easy to hear the yelling, but it's not necessarily that the patient is not being cared for.
Okay, so let's tackle some issues in a nursing home. Two main issues that usually occur in nursing home: fall and bed sores. We know that there's a lot of falls in some nursing home, and some have less falls incidents in the facility. So is fall how frequent should fall happen in a nursing home? Is this a normal incident, or there's any ways that we can prevent this in a nursing home?
There's ways that we can prevent falls. We can bring a patient that is known as a fall risk closer to the nurse's station. Also, we can go ahead and look at the care plan and see if this patient needs to be in a bed in a low position. Also, put in a bed and chair alarms on the bed or the chairs, so when the patient gets up, that it would alarm the staff to let them know that the patient is getting up to eliminate the fall.
You mentioned about bed or chair alarms. A lot of nursing homes are eradicating these alarms because they feel it's not really preventing the fall, it's just going to tell you the fact that the patient already had fallen already. So what is your thought about this?
I think I definitely agree with the bed alarms. It's not a preventative thing. It's for the staff to be well trained and use it appropriate. If the bed alarm goes off, the patient might not necessarily be already up, but it alarms you to get to the room as soon as possible before the patient actually get out of bed and fall.
Okay, so is this a state regulation to remove the alarm in all nursing home, or it's just a facility-based regulation?
I think it's a facility-based regulation.
Okay. What about bed sores? We always think that one of the biggest cases that family file a suit or sue nursing home is because of the bed sores. And this could be because a patient's never been turned, patient never been out of the bed, patient never been taken care or been clean on a daily basis. That's why patients has a bed sores. So what do you think are the steps that a nursing home should do in order to prevent bed sores in the patient?
So speaking of bed sores, that is not as small as what you're saying. Bed sores can occur from several different reasons. Nutrition is a big factor with bed sores. Lack of nutrition, your skin will not heal. Yes, it's very important for a patient to be turned every 2 hours. It's definitely important for patients to be cleaned up, if they soil, from soil linen, and definitely for if they already have a wound, to pay very close attention to it.
Right, and as one reason as well that most of family members as well are really into bed sores, because they know this could be debilitating basically. And is there any information that the family could get to make sure that that facility has less incident of bed sores or more incident of bed sores? Is this in your record in the state to show the family that this building has more bed sores than any other buildings in the areas?
I don't think that there's any special material that the family can look up to see if a facility have more bed sores than another. But you can look at the ratings of a building, and not only the star ratings overall, but the care ratings. They're also rated on that same website that you're looking for. If a facility is a 5-star, it also rates what made them that 5-star. Are they 5 stars in care? Are they 5 stars in, in different things? And that's how you can make your decision. Please do not look at the overall star rating. Look at the care. That's the most important part. That will definitely address the bed sores.
Okay. And how important is location in choosing a nursing home for the family member?
Location is it's good geographically, that you don't have to drive 5 miles. But for me, it does not matter where my family is located. As long as they're getting good care, I will drive there.
Perfect. And one more thing that we have also, like a lot of nursing home or some nursing homes have this smoking privileges. I know some of our buildings have smoking privileges like 2 or 3 days, 2 to 3 times a day. What is your thought about this smoking privileges, that the patients are allowed to go out and smoke 2 to 3 times a day?
I think any nursing home that allows smoking is fine, as long as the facility as long as it's in their protocol and have, staff, kind of chaperoning the smoking and have that in a controlled environment, I think it's fine.
Okay. And one thing that we also have to remember that in the long-term care, a lot of people have dementia, and some nursing homes have locked unit for dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And so what kind of a nursing home that a family should look if their loved one has dementia? So what would be your best advice for them, that this is the best fit nursing home for you, and this is the best fit nursing home for you because considering the fact that the patient has dementia?
Well, patients, when they have dementia, they tend to be very confused. There's certain facilities that have special units for dementia patients. Even the state requires them to have certain colors and certain things implemented for them. But if you have a family member that has dementia and would have the ability to just walk out the door, that's where it's very important to have a lock unit. You don't want, not that they're in prison, because it is not viewed as prison, but it's more of a safety thing, where if they go to a door, alarm goes off and it lets the staff to be aware that this patient is trying to leave. Some patients can be pleasantly confused and they can sit and put away books or whatever it is that make them feel, but then there's that other patient that feels like he needs to get ready for work and to leave. Maybe that was his old routine in his past life, but the lock units are important for those patients who becomes very confused and would leave the unit or the facility.
Is it necessary for a family member when during the tour they're going to ask, like, I need to talk to the social worker, I need to talk to the nurses? Is that a regular routine for a family member to do the tour, that sometimes they requested to talk with the administrator, with the director of nursing, with the director of rehab or social worker? Some family members wanted to do that during the tour. Is this allowed, or?
I mean, I think I definitely agree with it. I think to get better information for a family, thinking of placing their family member into a rehab or a nursing home, whether it's long-term or short-term, I think the more people that they can speak to in a facility, I think it should be allowed. If any facility that is not allowing that, I would definitely I would think twice.
Yes, and also one thing that the family member, when they go to a nursing home, is to look with the other residents as well.
Yeah.
I think if I would go to a nursing home and touring and choosing a nursing home for my loved one, I would definitely look the appearance of the other residents as well.
Yes.
Are they been taken care of? Do they look good? are they dirty, or are the wheelchairs look good, or the cushion looks good, because I think basing on the fact that how these residents in the building appeared to me would tell us what kind of
Absolutely.
building that the patient is, the
Absolutely.
patient will gonna have, or
Yes.
the type of care they're gonna have.
I definitely think smells, when you walk into a facility and you can smell smells, that speaks volumes to care.
Right.
Patients aren't being changed, as they should and as frequent as they should. So that's definitely something that, families should look, out for.
So Carl, in your personal opinion, if you go to a nursing home and have a tour, what's the first thing you wanted to see?
The first thing I look to see is the way the patients are dressed, the residents are dressed, the way the staff interacts with the patients.
In summary, here are the 10 tips for choosing a skilled nursing facility. Number 1, staff members. Ask about the staff turnover within home. Working in a nursing home is an extremely demanding job, both physically and mentally. Any nursing home will have a high turnover rate, but a quality one will always have staff members who have been there for the longest time or many years. Staffing during the work week is usually adequate, but ask what specific staffing levels are on the weekends, which is always a problem, on holidays and even evenings. Elderly care never ends. You want to choose a facility that maintains proper staffing even during these non-peak times as well. Thus, the staff seem to genuinely care about the residents in the home. Do they interact well with them and talk to them with respect and care? The job satisfaction of the staff will have a profound impact on the quality of elderly health they provide. Second, the other residents. We discussed this a while ago. Take a good look at the other residents. Ask yourself if they seem to be happy. Look to see if any are actively engaged in activities or games. Are they clean and groomed, wearing clean clothes or not? Try to observe the nursing home during meal times as well as during activities. If you happen to encounter other visiting family, stop and ask them how happy they are with the elderly care services at the nursing home in general. Number 3, the facility. Look for a facility that is clean and does not have any strong odors or smells. A heavy deodorizer scent may masking the smell of urine. Check above door jambs to see if areas are being dusted regularly. Look at fire extinguishers to see if they are being turned and shaken every month in accordance with fire code. Number 4, meals, which is a very important one. A quality facility will have dietitians on staff to ensure that a balanced diet is being served. Find out if they can handle special dietary needs. Ask if special treats or meals are allowed to be brought in for your family member. Do the residents all enjoy meals together in one large room, or they are being held to eat separately? Number 5, activities. Regular activities are important to people of all ages, including the elderly. Find out if they have an activity director. If not, ask how they handle having regular activities for the residents. Find out if outdoor activities are included as well as indoor activities. Number 6, experience. Find out if there are people on staff who are experienced in elderly care nursing and can handle your loved one conditions. Whether the concern is diabetes or Alzheimer's or dementia, you want to know that there are people in the home who are familiar with the conditions and will be able to help manage the condition. Number 7, very important, licensing requirements. Ask to see licenses held by the facility. Choose one that has all required state licenses. Find out what the state requirements regarding the ratio staff members to clients, and then make sure the home you choose consistently maintains the ratio. Number 8, location. The location you choose is extremely important. You want to choose one that is close to home so it will be more conveniently for you to visit. Choosing one that is nearby can also make it easier to bring your loved one home for holiday visits and other special occasions. Location should not be the only deciding factor, but it should definitely be kept in mind. But according to Carol, she is okay to drive far as long as a nursing home would give good care for the patient. Number 9, check for complaints and violations. Violations of state code become public record. Don't just look at the number of violations. Look to see what they are for. Violations can range from a minor housekeeping issue to serious issues of abuse or neglect. Check into facilities record before making any final decisions. Number 10, surprise visit. This doesn't often happen in any nursing home, but any nursing home worth using will be willing to let you drop in for a visit. If they require that you schedule a visit days or weeks in advance, ask them why they require that much notice. Visiting at the last minute will provide you with a solid glimpse of how clean the facility normally is, how it usually operates, and what level of elder health care they are providing. Carol, I know you work in a personal health care right now. Can you tell us what sets personal health care apart from other facilities in terms of delivering care for our patients?
We work through each resident with their family through the process completely. We customize every resident's care plan. We work with each family member and patient. We work through the process individually. For each resident, they have their own separate care plan. Whether it's short-term or long-term, it fluctuates, depends on the individual and the individual needs.
Thank you for sharing your expertise with us, Carl. Can you give us your last words to those family members in the community looking for a skilled nursing home for their loved one? What is your best advice?
My advice is to tour. Tour the facilities. It's very important for you to see where your loved one is going to be. You can make your best decisions is going to be based on what you've seen and not what you saw on the internet and what someone else have told you.
Very good advice. The decision to move an aging loved one into a nursing home may be one of the most difficult you will ever make. In fact, it is common for adult children to promise themselves they will never subject a parent to that kind of place. They may be sincere, but that kind of promise is based on unpredictable circumstances. Life, especially with the elderly, is fluid and changing. Promises that include the word never or always are unrealistic. Not one of us knows what the future will bring, so give yourself grace in making the decision for a nursing home. Heart searching goes with the territory, but don't torment yourself with guilt. Thank you all for watching. This is Senior Matters. See you in the next episode.
In searching for a skilled nursing facility or rehab site for a family member or a loved one, you want to really make sure that the facility meets the expectations of what you're hoping to get for this individual. You want to make sure that the facility actually meets what your expectations are. You want to make sure that the facility is clean, that beds are made, that staff is friendly and accommodating. You want to make sure that the staff actually can accommodate language capacities to be able to communicate effectively with the family member. What languages can they provide? Do they have interpreter services? You want to make sure you look at the rehabilitation services, if able to do it during the day, and see how staff interacts with patients one-on-one. What type of services will be provided based on the needs of the individual? What are the nutritional needs? Does your family member have any dietary needs that would need to be met? And how can the facility accommodate these things? You want to make sure that you're aware of all of the needs, because no one knows your loved one more than you do. So you want to ensure that all of these questions are answered prior to admission.
So some of the things that I always tell people when they're looking at a skilled nursing facility for either short-term or long-term is to definitely take a tour. My suggestion is to take the tour either after hours on the weekend. This way they don't have their regular staff in place. You're able to see what really happens in the nursing home. Take the time to talk to the supervisor on duty. Take the time to look around, see who's involved in activities or who's eating in the dining room. Some of the other things I like to talk about is going up to the rehab gym if you're here for short-term rehab. See what's happening on the weekends and off hours as far as the rehab department's going. You just want to make sure that, yes, any building can help you during the regular hours, but what is this building doing after hours? How can they help my loved one, and what care are they going to get after hours? That would be my suggestion.
Hi, my name's Kathy, and if you need a nursing home, there's all kinds of things you have to think about and plan for. Sometimes you get a list and it has all different places, and you may be having to visit them and let folks know what might be a good place for you or your family or friends to go to. Well, here's a few tips that I've learned being in nursing homes for a while. You always want to visit a nursing home that you are looking at going into, and look and talk to the staff, walk around, find out, ask for a copy of the menu so you can see the kind of foods and also the times the foods are served. If there's an activity department, they usually have large activity calendars, and activities can really help you or your loved ones, because it helps you kind of pass the time if you're there for short term. And if you're going to be placing someone in long-term care, it really is beneficial for them therapeutically to have therapeutic recreation at their disposal. And you want to look for some place that's neat and clean, and the staff are friendly and they smile. They don't mind if you stop and say, "Excuse me, I have a question." You also, maybe you want to see the nurses and say hello to the nurses and ask them, do you like working here, and do you like taking care of the patients? A lot of nurses have a lot of tips too, and can, maybe answer something that you didn't even think was an important question. But if you just ask them and not be afraid to ask a question, you may get the right answer you need. And most importantly, I think you need to feel comfortable. It needs to be someplace that you and your family can easily get to. Find out if you take public transportation. Is it a bus line or the T line? Is there parking available? And ask for some information and brochures as well before you make this very important decision, whether it's for short-term or long-term care for you, yourself, or a family member. I think it's very important that you maybe, think of these things, and at the time you may not think of them. So I hope this was helpful in sharing this information with you.